Welcome to Conversations with Character. I am here with Double Blind and Geroniimo. We did an interview about a year back. It was a great time. We got all their background stories. So if you want to hear that, you got to go back and watch that on the YouTube all day long. But we're back here. They got some new stuff. They just dropped a new single and they had an album come out last year. They want to talk about all the progress and everything. So let's start with this new single, y'all. Tell me about it.
Yeah, Break It Down, coming out tonight at 11 p.m. CST. Our brand new single called Break It Down. We've been working on that for the past almost 2 years. Our first bounce of it was November 2022. So we yeah, dude, the thing that when it comes to making music on my end, I'm such a perfectionist. I have to make sure everything's so
2 years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. If the drive right now, we probably between his songs that he's done by himself, mine that I've done by myself, that not are just songs that you've done by yourself, but you might want to release, plus all the songs we've done as Double Blind and Geroniimo. We think it's a couple hundred easy that could be if we just worked them, could be released. But it's we always have this work in progress. It's you can never let it go. It always feels
so if there's 100, about 200 years, you'll have them all released.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, okay, I'll give you some context as to why so many is one thing that I've always seen is Mac Miller, before he passed, he always kind of promoted that he had 1,500 songs that were ready to go that he just wasn't able to release, or just decided not to go with those songs. And for me, it's really important to figure out getting a baseline of a bunch of different products, bunch of different songs, and then filtering through what could work or what can't work, and then trying to see what exactly is going to make sense in the discography. But have to have a bunch.
Yeah, especially because we'll try and mess with blending styles and sounds at times, but it's if you release every time you do that and work on it, it just sounds like you're style hopping like crazy. It's you want it to seem like a natural transition of oh, I can kind of hear this influence at times in this, but it's if we uploaded everything we were working on, people would be what is your guys' sound? We're just trying stuff out, man. Yeah.
So tell me about Break It Down.
Yeah, Break It Down. 2 years ago, we decided to make a little song that was a little bit different, with what we've already released when it comes to Cotton Candy Skies, Limits, Brainstorm, and then our album, or in the Bird's Eye View, and then our album. We had a very specific sound that we were trying to achieve. This is a little bit different, trying to be a little bit more, I don't know, not necessarily a little bit more edgy with the content, but just a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more fun, a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more of things that you can maybe relate to in a day-to-day kind of environment. The cover art is very reminiscent of Logic, you can imagine in the basement type of vibe. We wanted a very when you're a kid, when you're younger and you're coming up in the world and you're hanging out with your friends, you show up in places, you're hanging out, you're drinking, you're smoking, you're, enjoying your time together with all the people that you love. And, it's a whole different world. It's an environment. And so we wanted to capture that specifically with the cover art, but the song kind of does that as well. So it kind of fed into each other, but very, very ambient. We want to, in a sense, when you come to the idea of Double Blind Geroniimo, it's a combination of the two. So it's not just, Double Blind, doing what he does, and then that's that. And then Geroniimo doing what he does. You want to combine a little bit of the two. And I think this song is a really good representation of that.
Yeah, I think also we both, he's talking about fond memories of just as you're growing up, finding yourself in someone, you're whose basement is this? You're at someone's house, on the weekend, growing up, you're just getting into stuff as, as you're kind of becoming later as a teen to a young adult, you're just thinking about all those random nights where you're just what is going on? It's just life's an adventure. So we're trying to tap into the nostalgia of that kind of era, but also we kind of get meta and we talk about breaking it down, how we break down a song, how we, we hit the studio, we find a couple sounds, we literally talk about so we kind of do some it's fun, double entendres at time. But there is times where it's just we just want to have something that's we do so much conceptual stuff and we do stuff that's heavy's not the right word, but we want people to think, it's our music, we want you to we want to take you somewhere, make you feel something like that. But sometimes it's fun to just drop a song where it's we're just having fun, we're turning up, just find people you love and enjoy a night and just hang out, that's kind of the vibe. So I think
that kind of song could take you places, man.
Say that again.
That kind of song could take you places. It could bring you right back to the most fun moment of your life, man.
Yeah, it really, and that's the whole thing. There's nights I can think of when I'm listening to the song when we were writing it and recording where you're just thinking man, I remember like the first time you got your Jeep when like, you know, we were in seniors in high school and this and that. And you know what I mean? It can totally take you there. So I hope for someone, for anyone, for everyone, it'll make you feel just that nostalgia, that good time. Just break it down, make it simple, make it fun again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, man. Geronimo, you have your first solo single coming up?
Yep. So after this, so what we have planned right now is like 3 songs, 3 singles that we're kind of in the work of. You know, this one coming out tonight, and then Progress is the next song. That's going to be my own single song, my own solo song. You know, ultimately, I see the idea of filling out a discography for not only Double Blind and Geronimo, but Double Blind and Geronimo separately. Sure. And so this is going to be my introduction into just having like, you know, an actual page on Spotify, Apple Music and stuff. And this song, so Progress is very much in the line of literally as it's, you know, kind of named Progress. Like progress takes time. And in my own world, sorry, I'm taking my own time. Like, what are you going to do about it? I have to figure out my path. And this is kind of that song that encapsulates that. Another one of those songs that it's been about 1.5 years that one's been in the works. So I finally hit a really good place, and we're getting ready for that, like next month ish, something like that.
Yeah, you take your time.
I have to take my time because my brain works in a way that I can only release something that I'm 100%, you know, confident with. And one thing that I've noticed on social media and stuff is that a lot of people will like post a snippet or an idea of a song before it's fully fleshed out. And I think that can be a disservice to the song because ultimately, you know, it takes time for you to reach a specific sound or a specific type of idea or quality. I mean, the quality is one of the most important things that I kind of like to make sure is right. And of course, my mixing and mastering might be not the best, which I acknowledge that because I'm pretty new in the industry of like
he's fired. Don't let him.
Whatever. But you know, like for me, it's really important to make sure that when people listen to it, they go, okay, you know, like that sounds like a legitimate release of a song, which no disrespect to anybody else who puts stuff out. Like, you know, to me, I think it's really admirable to see more people put stuff out into the world because that gives people an idea of what they could be going for, what they're trying to do. But for me, you know, the discography is forever. Once it's online, as they say, the internet's forever. So if I'm putting it out there, I want it to sound as good as I can. I want to have the right kind of mentality when I'm going into releasing it. I want to know that when I put it out there, this is a great example of what I'm trying to portray in a sense.
And like one thing we talk about a lot with like, because sometimes it's tempting, like, let's turn a song around quick or, you know, whatever. But like, there's also like, we talk about a lot, like if you make something that's timeless, it doesn't matter when it's uploaded. So take your time to make something that's like foolproof, that's fire, that's been thought out, that, you know, we've worked it 1,000 different ways. And once you've done that, it's like, you don't have to worry about like, oh, well, I need to upload this in time because there's a certain sound right now that's popular, a certain way. But it's like when you make something that's timeless, when you upload it, it's the perfect time. The issue is you just got to keep consistent, stay on it, keep stuff in rotation, you know, because it's easy to get totally locked in on a song and just go down the rabbit hole. And it's like, we talk about that all the time. You can make a million variations, but it's like, we're also kind of streamlining kind of like, you know, what like our process is, but there's still times where it's like, it's just 2 of us, you know what I mean? It's like, you're going to play something, we're going to work on it and be like, that's awesome. And then we might not listen to a song for 2 weeks, work on a different one, come back to the one from 2 weeks ago. And we're like, oh, this is going crazy. And then there's other times where we listen, we're like, we let this is nice. And now we're hearing it like, oh, no, we got to do something. So, you know, we really take our time, but like we always say, you know, when you upload it, when it's timeless, it doesn't matter when it's uploaded, you know.
Facts.
And I mean, for you as well, because I know you've released music as well, so I'm sure you kind of get that sentiment.
Kinda. I never cared. I was making music for myself. I was not for another soul in this world. It was all myself.
And, I mean, honestly, that's the best way to do it. I mean, ultimately, we do the same thing, but if I am releasing a song, you know, I do want to make sure it's in a great position. But for me, I mean, we make music for ourselves first and foremost. My sound, for what I want is Geronimo. I remember as a youngin', like listening to specific Kanye songs, Mac Miller, this or that, and going, I can imagine y'all doing something really unique with maybe auto-tune or this or that y'all just ain't doing. And when I started making music, that was kind of the whole goal, is just to do something that I personally think is what I want to hear. And it kind of works out in that way.
For sure. For sure. Double Blind, are you ever going to drop a solo project?
I don't know about an entire like project, but I definitely got some singles that like same thing, been sitting on for a while. But definitely like just with like where I'm at in life, it's like I want to focus on like getting first and foremost was outside space and time. That was like the biggest thing. We did that. We put in so much time on that, and then we had a plan of like we want to have some singles that we can release, have his come out, and then I do want to have a few, but like honestly, like where I'm at right now, it's like I do have some, but like I'm in such a lucky spot when I make music with Geroniimo, because like there's times where like I don't even know like that I have stuff that I want to like talk about, and then he'll like come through with like a thing, like a whole subject on a song. I'm like, I do want to talk about that, but lately like whenever I do make something that I would consider a single for myself, it's like something really speaks to me, and then I like react to it. There's times where like I'll show them, but it's for me like it's more rare in those instances. I'm not sure why that is. I think it might be like the producer background where like I love collabing, and I love doing that. It's not that it's like I'm uncomfortable not doing that, but I think just my mind is wired to like music's a collaboration and stuff. You know what I mean? So like I'm definitely excited, and he's always like, bro, you know that hook is fire. You should build a whole song on that, and I'll build a hook. And then I'm like, see you later. And then I just go to a different song and I'll build like a hook and like a part of a verse, but I just never.
That's the producer in you. That's definitely the producer.
Literally, I don't know why. Literally, like I have like a melody, I get it out there, and I'm like, that's awesome. Like it's a ringtone length song, and then I'm like, so definitely want to do that. That's definitely on the forecast, But like this man just cooks, bro. Like it's incredible. Like he'll just like. Every time we have a session, he's like, oh man, I listen to this song, listen to this song, listen to this. And I'm always like telling him, gassing him up, like, bro, let's do this, bro. Like you got singles that are ready, bro. Like, and as they say, like if the water rises in the ocean level, all boats will float with it. So it's like, if your homie's doing good, you're doing good, and everyone can win, So it's like, man, I hear the stuff he makes, and it's just like, to me, I'm like, bro, you got to share that to the world, bro. This man is inspired on a whole other level. Like literally, no lie. It's inspiring to me. We work weekly, multiple times a week together, and he'll still find ways to do something where I'm like, damn, bro, I'm inspired by that. Like, okay. So yeah, that's pretty crazy when you're just around it all the time to still, get that inspiration from it.
Now, speaking of the world needing to hear it, do y'all have like a plan for promo and marketing for your next a few songs, everything you got coming out?
Oh yeah. I mean, when it comes to each song, I want to have a very kind of like, formulated marketing plan. And that's the biggest challenge. I mean, what is the biggest challenge in this modern day is making sure that people hear what you're putting out. And that's the most difficult thing that exists, is just making sure you get a following, doing the right things, posting consistently, making sure people are able to see that you're just not kind of like what we did, right? We have an album that came out in April 2023. We haven't put a single thing out until just now.
Yeah.
So, I think for me, it's now I'm getting to a place where my mixing is a little bit more consistent. I'm able to put things out a little bit more, or not put things out, but create things in a more consistent, quicker way that I think over time we'll start to see. Like with these next songs, you'll see a little bit more of a consistency with us releasing more periodically, more often. But at the same time, if I'm not comfortable with where I want to be in terms of release, it's just not coming out yet. So progress, I think, is in a place right now where it sounds really good. I have to master it a little bit more, and then that should come out next week. After that, we have another single with both of us called Seaside/Pretend. We're trying to figure out exactly what we want to call it, but it's all a process. It's all, it takes a little bit of time to figure out exactly what kind of plan you want before you just send it out to the world. And again, in some instances, it's good to put stuff out a little early and showcase things. But I also like to make sure that if we do have a release schedule, we have some stuff in between that we're, kind of posting, kind of like with Break It Down. Like this is the first example where we're showing like scenes of us out in the wild, doing like whatever
in the wilderness,
kind of filming different videos. And it's simple. Again, as Austin mentioned, it's us two. We don't have a team. We don't have a squad that helps us with filming. Like everything that we do is produced from us two. And then we edit, we master, we mix, we do this, we do that. Everything is us. So at that point, we kind of have to figure out like timelines
Right.
You know, if we're releasing a song in 2 to 3 weeks, like we better have some sort of consistent plan around that single that allows for us to feel like there's some sort of traction with it, especially if you don't release anything in 2 years or
Yeah.
a year and a half.
Yeah, that is a hindrance for sure, man. Like,
I mean, you know the algorithm. Like the algorithm
Oh,
doesn't
no
pick you
doubt.
up if you're not releasing stuff or posting stuff. Like
Yeah.
ridiculous.
What's
is,
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, go ahead, bro. Go. No, you.
What's Seaside / Pretend about?
So kind of like what Pretend, you know, envisions is like, you know, we don't play pretend. We don't, you know, mess around in a sense. We don't fuck around.
Okay.
We're not playing pretend. We're us to the most of our abilities, to the best of our abilities. We are who we are. And so everything along the way has just always been us. But it's also a little bit of a combination of like, you know, oceanside vibes. Like one thing that I'm always, and I say this even when I'm working and stuff, is like, I am in Spain. I am on the beach or I'm in my family's house and I'm making music. And that song to me is a good encapsulation of that idea of kicking it, hanging out, being on the beach, like ocean type of vibes. But also we're us. Like this is what we do. We make stuff, we take our time and we release what we think is the highest quality, which, you know, subjective, but
Right. Like we call it pretend, but like in the hook, we literally say like, we don't pretend.
Exactly.
So
yeah, we don't play pretend in the sense.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of one of those songs where like, it's just kind of fun. Like it's another song. Like one of the things with the single run we're trying to do is like show the versatility of us as like fun artists that still have like meaningful moments in the song or like a cool bar that like, you know, kind of is like, oh, they're like, it's kind of introspective moment, but like still keeping it fun. Like you said, it feels like you're in, you know, oceanside hanging out and just like, you know, creating that vibe of just like, you know, we don't play pretend / seaside. We're just trying to create the ambiance of like, we're unapologetically us everywhere we go, everywhere we are, preferably on the beach in Spain, sitting on millions with our good friend character sitting there with us.
Hell yeah. Tell me about the album that you dropped last year. Like, how'd it go? What have you learned?
Oh God, so much.
Bro, first off, just tell him the coolest thing. In my opinion, the coolest thing about Cuddy.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, in the past year, last February, we had so Kid Cudi made a specific post that said something along the lines of like, you know, showing love to different artists or not necessarily artists, but just in general, like the idea of coming up and stuff like that. And so I made a post or I tweeted under him saying like, hey, you know, a lot of people like us are trying to come up in the game and it would be really kind of beneficial for you to kind of help promote or whatever. He retweeted that just
with a link to our album.
Yeah,
we had a link
exactly.
to our album and he retweeted to us like, you know, however many, I don't know.
What?
We have the screenshot of it. We could send it to you if you want to put it in the video.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's literally like Kid Cudi did that, and then recently, this wasn't with our album, but like interacted with Logic on Instagram. So it's like this is kind of wild. But the Kid Cudi thing to me, like, there's a lot of we learned about the album, but one of the coolest things to me was like Kid Cudi to me is like one of my biggest influences and idols, and like the idea that like there's a possibility that when he saw the tweet that, you know, Geroniimo sent and then he clicks the link that he could hear one of our voices or both, or maybe he listened to all of it. You don't know, but then to have the love to retweet it to all of his followers, mind blowing, dude. That to me was one of the cooler moments after the album's released, you know, like
that's dope, man. Like y'all named him as one of your biggest influences in the first interview.
Literally. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our whole the sonicscape of the first album is very much influenced by Kid Cudi because of Man on the Moon. You know, it's a kind of a story inside of an album without there being necessarily any dialogue, like Logic is the next example where he had his the Incredible True Story album come out, and that was with dialogue, a space odyssey kind of story. And, you know, in my mind, I could see a similar kind of path, not necessarily the exact same path, but a similar one. And I think with those two kind of influences kind of reacting, you go, holy shit.
It makes you kind of feel like, not that like, oh, we made it, but it kind of makes you feel like, okay, like I belong a little bit in here. I don't know to what degree, but I have some room in here that we belong.
Like turn the light on at the end of the tunnel type thing.
Literally, like, okay, there's something, because, you know, it's thankless work. You do stuff, you know how the game goes. You do stuff, you grind it out. You do stuff in silence and secret no one knows about. You know, you're working thankless hours doing this and that, and then just have like one of our heroes, you know, that was a super cool moment.
You spend 2 years on a song with potentially no recognition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is what it is. But when you kind of get that little bit of a appreciation for what we do, I guess that, it just
we were riding
on
a high on that. Like
such a
what?
high.
Like for like 2 days, it was super cool. But obviously after the album, there's way more important stuff that we've learned, as artists, as producers, sound engineers, this, that, whatever. Like, but we talked about a little bit about the streamlining, like our process with like getting stuff out, even though it's like we're talking about, we've had this song for 1.5 years, 2 years. That was also being cooked up during, the album. So like since the album, like when we make a new song, if we're like, hey, let's just make something new, we can have it sounding to a spot where like, if we worked on it like a few more sessions, it could be released if we wanted. We've gotten to that point where like, with Geroniimo, like knowing his mixing and mastering to the level he does, and us just like our writing process. I mean, it doesn't take any time to write anymore, and we're just flying through that. Now it's the other stuff of like making the reels. And so, it's just us, like we said. So it's like, there's all this other stuff where it's like, man, it'd be crazy to have like a Mike Dean in your back pocket where you're just like, make a song that, like we said, is 80% really good, send it off to him and be like, well, that's a masterpiece. And now we're just on to the next, so, but then, this guy right here, big workhorse. Shout out to Geroniimo, this man putting in the work.
If you could do anything different with the release of your album, what would you do?
Oh God, second part of release. Like one thing that we did great with the album is I had a full 30 plus days of promotional kind of material that we were posting with that. And I think one thing that I didn't do right was kind of do the follow-up of the album.
I
with
agree.
Promo, but
me too. We had 40, 30, 20, 30 reels probably that we could have, that were ready for the after, that were kind of humorous and that. And then it just didn't feel right in that moment. But looking back, it's like, what is that? When does a meme feel right? Just send it. Like, but with it now, we can still use them to bring attention back to it. Yeah. Maybe with, our pages. Wow. Our pages now, with the new singles coming out, getting a little more traction on it, kind of redirecting people back to that. But I agree with Geroniimo. Like our follow-up game on that, I feel like could have been a lot better,
Is what it is.
For sure. For sure. So, I mean, would you consider that your biggest challenge to releasing music right now?
Yeah, I think our biggest, production wise, we're there. I think like producing material we're there, but ultimately comes down to the marketing and the whole plan around the release. And I think over time, we get better at that. Like with Break It Down, we realized some techniques, some different ideas with editing, with videos and stuff that I don't think we really thought about previously that now we're kind of hitting a mark with. And so I think over the next several releases that we do, we're just going to have more of a plan, more of an idea of what we're doing, over time. Break It Down, we already have, quite a few videos that we've done, and we're getting ready to do even more after releases and then going into the next songs and whatnot. But yeah, I think marketing is the biggest challenge in all of this. It's the one thing that you need to do something creative for people to catch the attention. And one thing that I also realize is that promoting your stuff like with ads is a huge benefit.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel like that's one thing that over time now, having a new job, allowing myself to have money to be able to spend on the promotion, I think that's going to make a big difference. You ultimately want to just make sure people are seeing what you're posting, what you're doing. And if you don't have a big audience, like the advertisement space is exactly what you need to kind of build that. I mean, you got to spend money to make money, and that's always been the case. But with us, I think it's the most relevant right now is realizing this is the time to do that. Like we're the youngest that will be right here, right now. We could have said that in the last interview, but we'll be right now,
You can really say that at any point in time.
You can say that at any point, but we're saying that now too. Like most specifically now is now's the time to make sure that we're just being very meticulous. I love that word. I say that even in consistently. Meticulous, intentional. Those are the two words. So for me, I translate that into the work environment for music. So we'll see. I think we have a good plan. I think we have a good setup now. But if I could delegate some work to people, God damn it, that'd be incredible.
That's what the like talking about getting traction and just being consistent. One thing we've never done is when you look at what we've released. We released our first song, and that was more so just the introduction, like, hey, if y'all knew us growing up in elementary school, here's some music, like, you know, kind of like that weird icebreaker for people. And then we kind of showed different, you know, with Limits and then Brainstorming and Bird's Eye View. We kind of started showing like a progression in like actual like quality, but also like lyrical abilities, singing abilities, this and that. So there was only like 4 singles where, you know, that was like one set, like in the span of like 2 years, we dropped the 4 singles, right? And then we dropped the album, which was like 10 songs. And now we're at the point where we're like, okay, we're going to drop a consistent 3 singles. And then with his, you know, like a 4th or whatever. So it's like, we haven't ever geared up to do this before where we're like, this is the consistent drop. Cause we've always talked about it, but like he was talking about delegating work. It's like, finally, we've done so much work on the front end over these years where now we're in a spot where it's like, finally we can drop like 4 songs in a row and have reels for it and this and that. But to anyone listening and inspired and you want to help and you see the vision.
Oh, I mean, that's the biggest
Feel
thing.
free.
Please, Ether Dream needs you.
Or if you're inspired and want to help character, you know, just help. Right? The whole community, we want help. So,
No doubt, man. Have y'all considered dropping merch?
Yes. So
we want to.
Oh God. I mean, I've designed so many different pieces. I had at one point an entire kind of not a collection, but a couple of pieces that I wanted to release with the album that just didn't work out. Like there's a lot of background stuff that you kind of have to organize for it to be legitimate and not just under the table type of work, which as a beginner artist, like it's not a big deal, but in my mind, I just want to make sure that we get all of our kind of stones turned, make sure that everything's legitimate. And I think so one thing that we almost did with the 1 year anniversary of our album was release a couple of hoodies for the commemoration of that. It just wasn't the right timing, wasn't planned properly. So I would imagine for the 2nd year of our album, we'll do like a merch run. But even before then, I absolutely think that doing some sort of merch, whether that be as simple as just Ether Dream right on the chest or whatever, I think that's going to be super worth it. But yeah, merch is a huge aspect that we need to tap into. Absolutely.
For sure, man. No, I mean, I asked you this last time, but it's been so long and y'all have learned so much from everything you've done. I don't know if this has shifted. Like, what's the dream? What's the big goal? What's everything you're trying to accomplish?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, okay, so funny enough, Logic had a documentary for his Ultra 85 album that came out recently. And in the beginning of the album, it was him years ago where he was on an interview and he was asked the same question. He was asked, like, what's your goal in the industry? He goes, the music, the cars, the money, the women, I want all of it. And for me personally, like, I absolutely, like, my big goal is like, I want to succeed. I want to make it in this industry. But as we were mentioning earlier, I make music for myself and for Double Blind. We want to make music for ourselves first and foremost. But with making art, of course, there's this background of like, I want to succeed. I want to at some point make music as my primary source of not only income, but just in general. I just want that to be the primary ship. I want us to drive the boat with the music. And overall, I think, one day with the dedication, with the kind of persistence that we have, I think it's absolutely possible. But it's ultimately, I want to make a name for myself. Like Ethan Francine, that's who I am behind Geroniimo. I want that name to mean something in this world. And I'd love for Austin Nichols to also have that vibe or that energy. And I want all the people that, see the success or want the success to also feel some sort of, collaboration in that sense. I want people around me, if they see the vision, if they see the clarity of what we see, I want them to also reap the benefits. But you kind of have to be selfish and go, if I see this dream, if I see this vision, I have to make it come true. And ultimately that's the biggest thing. I see in my vision every day. I close my eyes and I can see where I'm going to end up, and that's where I want to be. I want to be exactly where I see myself. That just means, being consistent. That means making, things come to life. Double Blind might have a little bit of a different, kind of idea.
Mine's honestly very similar. Just like, we were talking about a little bit earlier. One thing that I think is so cool about like, making music and being in our position specifically is like one day, God willing, like I have grandkids, great grandkids, and they're able to come back and like learn about who like we were, you know, and like feel like that connection. I always think it'd be so wild if like my great grandpa had something from like the turn of the century.
Wouldn't that be dope?
Got a whole album. He's going through this and these anxiety. It would just be so wild to me, you know. So in some ways, like I'm very thankful that we've done some of the stuff we have done, but I know the legacy isn't done. You know what I mean? I know we have some stuff that if you know, I died in a car wreck, I'm still happy with it. And I know there's stuff on the drive that he'll see through, but like, I just feel like having like a legacy, you know, and then also number two is if we could financially become secure doing this, like that's the big dream. Cause like, dude, realistically, we all got to work. We all got to do something to pay someone to exist here. So it's like, that's just the reality. So it's like, it's horrible. So it's like, man, if I could, all the work we put in for this, like it's just us doing it because we love it. So it's like, of course, if I'm going to invest time into something, like if I can get money back, that's the ideal scenario, but that's not like our big motivator at all. But like, we definitely know it could be a symptom of keeping consistent, doing what we love, trying to evolve and trying to make something happen. You know, it's like not knocking anyone who doesn't, but it's like, I can't think of a situation where like I look back on my life and be like, I'm glad I never tried anything. You know what I mean? Like, I just know, like, I know that like we've been at it for, you know, 4 or 5 years and it's like, cool, like do it and see what life has to offer. But at least I know at some point when it's all said and done, I tried. You know what I mean? And I don't have any regrets on that. And it's just, but it's so true. It's like, I've never heard anyone be like, damn, I wish I didn't try so much. Like sometimes you try and you know, it's like, this ain't it. But like, I don't feel that way because first and foremost, we do that. We do it for ourselves and for the legacy, you know, and then hopefully, you know, something good can come of it and we can make money and put our friends on and our family. And you know what I mean? Like making a system where everyone can benefit. But right now it's just like, the good thing is we're not doing it for any of the music or the clout because there's not a lot of that to be had right now. Like
doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, you know, so hopefully, you know, we see ourselves as an investment, this music as an investment, but in the weirdest way, we don't expect it to pay us money back, but we know it certainly could.
Sure.
You know,
it'd be really, really cool if it did.
And we want to try so hard to make that happen. But the nice thing is when that's not your only motivation, you're not sucker punched when stuff's not popping, you know. And you never know when something could pop. Like, you know, we always talk about St. John. His song Roses sat on SoundCloud for 3 years. And then all of a sudden, zoop.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's wild. You never know what could be marinating, you know?
Sure. No, absolutely.
To give you a little context, that's kind of how we felt with the album was like, you know, in my mind, I look at making music as I look down the line and I go, am I going to be proud of this in 10 years? Because the biggest thing is that you can make a bunch of cringe content and it just, you look down the line and you just go, that wasn't it. And I don't want to ever feel like that. I always want to feel like I'm super proud of what I make. And that's why we have so many songs. And that's why we have so many demos, is that we have to find the path. And that's going to take time. That's going to be, you know, that's normal. But as we get better with our process, as we meet more people and hopefully have more connections, it just gets easier over time. But I mean, the whole goal, as Austin said, the legacy is, you know, I didn't want to bring that up myself because I know how important that is, you know, for him. And I really want also that for myself. But, you know, it's just such a turning point when you think of like what this could do when you look at it down the line. And it's incredibly important.
Or like we talk about like, wouldn't it be so wild if like we still had like a great life, but like nothing pops, unfortunately. But then imagine all the royalties pop when we're gone and our kids now benefit. Like imagine, you never know with the internet being forever. Like that wasn't a possibility for you. But imagine on TikTok 50 years from now, they find Break It Down and they're like, this is the new we're sitting on money. You know, it's like, you don't know how life is like. It feels so surreal at times where you're like, you don't know how it's going to work out. So play the game and have fun.
Facts. That's crazy to think about. I never thought about that.
Yeah, no, we talk about that. Like, we're dead and like our great grandkids like Break It Down. All suddenly just is the most popular song. Our family's rich, but we didn't get to enjoy it.
Like it becomes a cult classic kind of thing.
Oh God. I mean, who knows? Well, one thing that also, you know, that I think we both kind of understood is that when it comes to the amount of songs that you release, or just in general that you make, you have to imagine a conversion rate for the ones that might be successful. And if we have 200 songs and 10% successful, I mean, that's 20 songs. So I don't know, man, that'd be pretty nice. You know, if we had 10 bangers that actually popped off, that's just that you just look at it as the more you make, the more opportunities there are for one of them, just one of them, to do something magical. And in the day and age of us being in social media and, internet and all this stuff, it's the perfect time. I can imagine making music 20, 30, 40 years ago and just making a bunch of stuff that doesn't get
and everything's
hurt.
analog.
Analog.
Oh my God, it was so hard. It was so hard to make music back then.
Yeah, and then
I
to
can't even
save it
imagine.
and then be like, hey, can you play that real quick? And someone's going through like all their cassettes. Oh, I think it's on, it's like you can't just go on the drive and
On a tape. I mean, I want to give the most respect to the Beatles because they did the damn thing. And they had, at their time, they had probably some revolutionary type of, recording equipment, this and that, but they're still having to go in a tape recorder and try and figure out cutting and this and that and different takes and it's like, I get on my Logic and then I record the same exact verse or the same exact line 10 times to get the right one. Imagine having to record an entire song and you go, in the middle of the song when I recorded that moment, I didn't like how it sounded. I got to do the whole song over.
Or we
punching in was not a thing for the Beatles.
or someone tries to punch in, and then you hear the engineer go, "Hey, we're almost out of tape," and you're like, one try, like, no way, dude, we're not built for that. Shout out to the legends before us who made it easier for those who are in the game now.
Yep.
Because I mean, imagine how long we might be sitting on a song 8 years if we had to do it analog.
I know.
If it takes Geronimo 2 years to get a song done now, bro, we'd be looking at 8,
our
10
analog,
years.
bro, might be ready in a few years.
Yeah, we're not even out with our first song at this point. Is what it would be. God. But I love it. I love the process. The process is what makes it so enjoyable. Let's be real here with what we have. What we have.
Yeah. No doubt, bro. It's made such a difference. And it's crazy. Actually, I think we talked about it last time, but the COVID brought this advent of people owning recording equipment. And I mean, it's changed the industry in a lot of ways. But I think the best part of it is it doesn't matter who you are. Music, not as a tool to become famous or known or anything, but it can be such a therapeutic tool, recording it, but also getting better at it and learning a new thing. It's so good for the soul that I think that more people have been able to experience that since the recording equipment's been available. And that's an amazing thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
We talk to our friends who say like, man, we wish we had a thing to put some of this emotion and this pain or this, even not even pain, but just these emotions, you know what I mean, into something. And it's like, we're so thankful we have music because there's so many people who don't have anything. They just have work, and then they have like whatever show they like to watch, and then whatever friends, which is that's not knocking it, but having something we can put our pain into, or all of our happiness, or all of our dreams, or it's a beautiful thing, as you know.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely, man. Before we finish this up, as always, what's some life advice that you would leave for anybody watching?
I got one right off the top.
Go for it.
I was talking to someone today at work about this. I got this new dude, and we were talking about like basically what I ended telling him was like, you should feel free in any situation in life to be yourself, because no matter how hard you try or how little you try, people are already going to decide if they like you or not, no matter what you do. And that should free you, because fuck it. If I can't make you happy, no matter how hard I try or how little I try, I'm just going to be genuine to myself. Don't be an asshole to those around you, but don't care about people. You can't make people like you or not, no matter how good or bad you do. So do you. So that would be my advice today. I talked to someone about it, and that's helped me a lot in my life. Just be genuine, do you. But at the end of the day, you can't make someone like you or dislike you. It's easier to make someone dislike you, but even then they might not. You know what I mean? It's just do you.
Facts.
Yep. I mean, I would echo that quite a bit. One thing I would also add is, I want to echo a little bit of what other people have said online, the people that have had some sort of success. Consistency is going to be the greatest tool that you have. And that's what I'm currently trying to learn right now is how do I make a world around this social media, around this music that is so consistent to the point where you just constantly are seeing the name pop up. And I think that's going to be the most beneficial thing that anybody that's coming up in the game is going to learn, is that the algorithms that are online, that are in social media, require you to not only post consistently, but post like in the same realm or vein that you are. Like I see a bunch of these artists on Instagram, who have, some of them have great music, some of them have, you know, decent music, some of them might have less than decent music, but the one thing that they do great is that they're posting consistently.
Yep.
And if I can figure out that path, I think, you know, I think anybody can go and find success in whatever they're trying to do just by being consistent, just by being persistent, you know, motivating your own self. Just know that, as Austin said, as Double Blind said, no, like not everybody's going to love you. Not everybody's going to hate you, but you know, there is that middle ground. You'll find something, you'll find people.
Yeah. And look, as far as posting goes, the way I always think about it is like, especially as an artist, there's no one post you're going to put up that's going to ruin everything, that's going to kill your chances of ever becoming successful with this. So don't overthink the post. You know, if it's not as perfect as you want it to be, if it doesn't look exactly, if the caption isn't perfectly right, just put it up and keep putting it up, because it can just take one post to blow up.
Right.
So you're not going to hurt yourself by posting. You could only help yourself. That's it.
I feel that.
Agree. I 100% agree. And that goes for any, like, I've watched a video the other day where this guy was shouting out people who just do drywall videos. Like, are you kidding me? You can do anything in this world as long as you're posting it. Like, I could literally be posting about like doing electrician work or whatever it is, jewelry. You see all these different people that have different niches, and music is its own. But of course, music in the industry that music is, it's one of the most difficult, you know, industries to get into. But as long as you're consistent and you showcase like effort, I think effort's one of the biggest, you know, kind of aspects that people pay attention to. Even if you care too much, even if you care too little, whatever it might be, like caring in general will just get something. Yeah. And I believe fully that, you know, if we're just able to tackle that kind of mentality or just experience, I think, you know, the sky's the limit. And even though I hate saying that, because the sky isn't the limit, like you can go way beyond the sky. Like, what's beyond the sky? They say the earth's flat. I don't believe that, but personally,
don't get me started, bro.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Said, I mean, you
another hour of the interview.
Here we go. We bring up a whole new world here. But with that being said, like, you look through a telescope and you can see Saturn. You can see like different parts of the universe, whether that be real or not. For me, I go, the sky's not the limit. That's just the beginning. And we can make anything happen that we put our minds to. And that's, for me, the most important aspect. I care. I want this to work. I believe it. I envision it. I dream it. I see it. And so if I see it, if I can believe it, if I can envision it, then it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Maybe I've already lived this life a million times, and I'm just on the path to getting to where I used to be. Hopefully, I like to believe that. You know, I personally feel like I've lived this life infinite amount of times. I probably lived Double Blind's lives. I probably lived your life, Corey. I probably lived everybody's lives. But somehow, some way, I'm here, me right now, again, hopefully, and I can see that happening over and over again. But I think, you know, if you're dedicated to your craft, I think you can make anything you want happen. Dreams are infinite.
100%, yeah, 100%. I really appreciate y'all's time. I can't wait to check this out. The song is coming out tonight. I can't wait to hear Geroniimo's first single solo song, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what y'all have coming up. This has been Conversation with Character with Geroniimo and Double Blind. Hit them up, follow them up, stream them up. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.
Gang, gang.
The most prestigious network in the land, the Signature Series Network.